Yes, I'm ready.
Everybody good? There it is. Well, good evening and welcome to the February meeting of the South Range Board of Education. First thing I'd like to do is have a stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Phelps, would you call the roll, please?
Brian Bagwell. Here. Taylor Christian.
Here.
Terry Lally.
Here.
Amy White.
Here.
And Ralph Wentz.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our January 11th, both the organizational and the regular meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Brian moves. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And on to Mr. Phillips and the treasurer's report.
Okay, our regular general fund had $2,680,117.87. Encumbered against that, $1,205,286.34, leaving an unencumbered balance in the general fund a little over halfway through the year of $1,474,831.53. Our bond retirement series, we're going to have a payment on June 1st. They're December 1st and June 1st payments. Our current fund balance is $931,838.01. That will increase during this spring tax collection, but then it'll decrease in June. So that's what's going on with the bond retirement fund. Also, I usually don't report on this, but was having a conversation before the meeting. Our permanent improvement fund, that's the $500,000 that went along statutorily with the bond issue. They wouldn't have given us the help to build this building if we didn't pass that. That particular fund right now has a cash balance of $240,921.72. Encumbered against that is $25,356.76, leaving a balance unencumbered of $215,564.96. And again, that fund grows twice a year as taxes are collected twice a year. Not too much to report on the grants. You can see they're negative balances, but they're minimal negative. That's because we did project cash requests and received money in January. Our total all funds, including the student activities, athletics, all the grants and general fund, PI fund, $3,904,097.74. Of that total balance, we have at Farmers, Premier, and Star Ohio in the bank, $3,971,655.32. We have outstanding checks of $68,372.08. One deposit in transit, $34.50. When you do the math there, you end up with negative $68,337.58. And when you do the $780, as we always have in petty cash, and do all the plus minus math there, turns out that we do balance exactly at $3,904,097.74. You also have appropriation report, revenue report, and disbursements report, the check payment report. And if there are any questions on any of those documents or what I just presented, I can entertain those questions now. And if not, I'm finished.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Mr. Phillips? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I move.
Terry makes a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Taylor makes a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And on to new business and district reports and good news. And Mrs. Carlson.
We're going to start with our building administrators first.
Evening, everyone. Just a couple pieces of good news tonight from the elementary. A couple groups I just want to recognize tonight to say thank you to. First, our Title I staff. They've been working on organizing our annual Right to Read Week, which will be March 1st through the 5th. It'll look a little different this year with our guest readers coming in. We're hoping to have our own staff be able to go in and visit some classrooms during planning periods and go see some of their old students. We're also hoping to have the middle school staff, if they're available, to come over, some high school students and staff, and hopefully our members from the board office. For our outside guests that normally could come in, this year we're working on doing some virtual visits with them through Google Meet so they can continue to read to our students. And this year our theme, once again, will be Dr. Seuss. Every day the students receive a reading incentive to go along with a different theme. Also, throughout February, we're doing our Read at Home contest where the students read for as many minutes as possible, either by themselves or with a parent. This year, our students are all working together instead of competing against each other to try to beat our minutes read from last February. In 2020, the boys and girls read a total of just over 209,000 minutes throughout the month. So we'll see how they do this year, and hopefully we can top that goal. So again, just a big thank you to our Title I staff, Mrs. Koulianis, Mrs. Cardinal, Mrs. Wingler, and Mrs. Haig for organizing that week for us. Also like to recognize our PTO tonight and say thank you to them. At the end of this week, our students will celebrate Valentine's Day by exchanging cards in the classroom. We're not able to have our usual big classroom parties that PTO would put on. However, this year the PTO did donate bags and stickers for the boys and girls to decorate so they could collect their cards in. And PTO was here on Saturday. They put together treat bags for our in-person students as well as our remote students that they'll get to have on Thursday. This year our PTO has purchased books for classroom libraries, stocked our elementary staff lounge with special treats and snacks for the teachers, and they created a conference night survival bag that was waiting for the teachers when they arrived at school this morning. So just along with providing our conference dinners, these are just a few ways PTO has been able to be involved with our school this year. So a big thank you to all those parents who continue to support the students and staff in any way they can. That's it from the elementary.
Thank you, Mr. Matus. Good evening, everybody. Again, not a whole lot to report from the middle school, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like if things continue to trend in the direction that they're trending, we're going to be able to have some of those academic competitions like, Power of the Pen, English Festival, that we can report on in the upcoming months. However, I do have, from the athletic front, something to report regarding our wrestling team. The wrestling team has had a fantastic season up to this point. Recently finished as the Northeast 8 champions at the middle school division, and the EOWL took place, the Eastern Ohio Wrestling League tournament took place a couple weekends ago. We were able to finish in the top 8 overall. That's of all schools participating, and I believe we were first as far as Division III schools go. We had some individual place winners. Placing first was Patrick Lally. Placing second was Luke Starkey. Johnny Tomeno placed third. Eddie Stakowitz, 5th. Xavier Winter, 6th. 2 7th-place finishers, Gary Landsberger and Aiden Dominguez. And then Griffin Pahanish placed 8th. Other team members include Dominic Bailey, Heath Krause, Charlie Fries, Will Gehring, Hayden John, Evan McGrath, Anthony Nespeka, Kellen Pitzer, and Michael Uplinger. So again, a lot of good things happening athletic-wise, and in the next couple months we'll be able to have some other things to report as far as academic programs are concerned. Thank you.
Evening, everyone from the high school. I just have a quick, last Friday, our guidance department, we have a guidance intern. Her name's Amber Bancroft, and Erica Berkey Each February, we usually take our junior class to Pittsburgh to a college fair and a kind of a careers kind of like exploration day. And because of the pandemic, that has been canceled. So we kind of did our own here, had some virtual meetings with Kent State and YSU. But the guidance department provided the junior class an opportunity to prepare for their future college or career through a series of sessions. Students were able to choose their top picks for breakout sessions, spent the day interacting with different platforms such as Naviance and ACT. The additional breakout options included a session on mindfulness and self-efficacy, as well as 2 sessions led by Kent State titled A Crash Course in College Planning and Real Talk, when your world meets the real world. Additionally, we'll offer a summarized version for the parents during parent-teacher conference night on February 11th. To follow up with this, juniors are also taking the ACT at school on February 23rd to finalize the college and career focus for the junior class. Also, from the athletic standpoint, winter sports is wrapping up. We had our tournament draw for basketball, boys basketball this weekend, girls basketball last weekend. Wrestling is kind of getting into that point. They had the EOWL last weekend. Our high school team took first in EOWL. That was actually the weekend before. Last weekend, we were second in the duels. The team that we wrestled had a individual that came down with COVID, kind of knocked their team out. So our boys were able to participate this past weekend in duels. And we have a lot of good things going on. We'll have some home basketball games coming up here. I believe the girls will be home for quite some time, and the boys will at least have their first game at home. So dates, I'm not 100% sure of the dates, and I think Mr. Farron's covering the game, so I'm not 100% sure that he's going to make it here to give the athletic report. So that's about it from the high school. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. So I'm back after 3 months of being on maternity leave. So I had a really nice welcome back from everyone. The 2 directors that were covering me from Nutrition Group did a really nice job while I was on leave. The report that I gave each of you is a report that ODE requires that this information be presented to the school board yearly. The document confirms that the district is enforcing its established policies and that the cafeteria is following them. So just in summary, what the report is saying is, we buy our food products from reputable sources. We follow all of the USDA guidelines. Pretty much just that the cafeteria is following all the rules that we're supposed to, is the report I gave you. And that's it from the cafeteria.
Good evening. Just something a little bit to report on technology tonight. You've heard me talk about E-rate before. It's a federally funded program we get into every year to help supplement our costs for our internet services and other technology needs. Hopefully, again, it's never guaranteed, but we will get that money sent to us so we could use it for some infrastructure needs and also, again, to reduce our costs for our internet. We also got a long-awaited Chromebooks. We had 180 on order. We got a partial shipment in November, late November, due to a shipping error, actually, that worked out in our benefit. And then the rest of the Chromebooks came shortly after, later in December. So we have 180 Chromebooks that we were able to distribute that we weren't sure if we were going to get. Some schools put orders in last summer, and they're still waiting, and they may not see them until the fall of this year. So that's good news on our end. And on the maintenance end, things are doing well. We're working through this cold and snowy weather best we can. Hope for an early spring, and that groundhog is wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything for legislative liaison reports or student achievement? Okay, that would be it.
Okay, thank you all very much. A little change up of how we normally go tonight. Next up will be executive session under Ohio Revised Code 121.22 and Board Policy 0166 for the consideration and appointment and employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and compensation of a public employee, and also for consideration of the purchase of property for public purposes or sale or other disposition of unneeded, obsolete, unfit for use property at competitive bidding. If premature disclosure of information will give an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage to a person whose personnel, private interest, or adverse to the general public interest. I would this time would entertain a motion to go to an executive session.
I motion.
Terry makes a motion. May I have a second? Brian makes a second. Mr. Phillips, roll call.
Taylor Christian?
Yes.
Terry Lally?
Yes.
Ralph Wentz?
Yes.
Amy White?
Yes.
Brian Bagwell?
And the board goes into executive session at 7:16 p.m. And we will return and run the rest of the meeting after we're done. Okay, we're back in regular session at 7:46, and first up will be the 21-22 calendar. Mrs. Carlson.
Yes, I provided you guys with the 21-22 calendar. For the most part, the calendar is exactly how it has been in the past. There's a change to the Easter break. I did put it the week before. The reason for this is because of the way the holidays fall this year, for seniors, they don't come to school the last 3 days of school. So I needed to gain a day somewhere, so that allowed us to gain a day and still incorporate Good Friday and Easter, but have the seniors actually will be done with school the 27th of May and be able to graduate immediately on the 28th. So that was kind of where we stole the day, because we couldn't really gain another one at the beginning of it. And I couldn't steal another one from a holiday because most of the holiday breaks were happening on a Friday, and I couldn't take one from there. So that will be the calendar. Other than that, everything is pretty much identical.
Okay, next would be the approval of the 21-22 South Range High School Curriculum Guide.
I presented you guys in the hard copy and the email, but then I just gave you a nice folded one. Some of the simple changes were the state changed the scoring of the end of course exams, so the numbers are different in there for how many points the students will receive if they get certain scores for their graduation points. There's an update. The state, we're in this transition where the seniors and juniors have a certain standard they need to graduate. Freshmen and sophomore have a different, so that's in there. In the very end, we started to put in, we have to create seals for graduation requirements. Community service is one that I believe they put in the curriculum guide because that was one we really believe in here in South Range already. But the county, along with the principals, are working on other ones to create some collaborative seals to help our students graduate and have very different options to also add to their graduation diploma.
Okay, next up would be a number of board policy considerations for the March meeting.
Yes, we had a handful that were actually could just been a word change. So the first 4 policies for late arrival and dismissal, the only addition was that we should be checking licenses when they come to pick their kids up, which we were already doing in our safety plan. Technology, staff technology, acceptable use. Those 2, it was just changing words from student services to student needs. So it's very simple things. Social media, that one is a new policy. That one actually has approved, where we get to approve the social media sites that we are okay with our staff using when they're using them in school. So we have our Facebook page, we have our DRUN page. We do open up and let the teachers use YouTube for educational purposes. So we do have an identified group. We use Remind 101, which is considered social media for communication with our parents from different organizations and groups. We also have Class Dojo at the younger grades that they use. So we have a handful that are approved that we will post on the website, but this document actually supports just kind of laying out some guidance for schools. So basically, if you are on social media and you're doing something on social media, just remember that you still represent our school. So it's very clear. There was no true social media policy prior to this. Next one, school safety. Again, they just changed a wording, a security wording. And Title IX, that is the newest one. That is a brand new. They're calling it a special update because we've always had Title IX, but this one's talking about discrimination. If you remember at the organizational meeting, I identified Ms. Lewis and Mr. Matos as our compliance officers already. So the policy just kind of goes through the procedures that if something has happened, if someone's been discriminated against, the processes and procedures the district will go through to support that and investigate it and move forward.
Okay, next up would be the approval and the agreement between the South Range Classified Employees Association and the South Range Local Board of Education from July of 21 through June of 22.
Yes, if you remember, we already did the teacher's contract, so this is our classified employees. So I'm asking that the board also do a 1-year extension, continuing forward with the exact contract they had, and we will begin negotiating with them as well when we start the teachers coming up in the fall.
Okay, next would be, we've been working on agreement with the Sour Wines for the purchase of the property with them.
Yes, we've had the opportunity to purchase the property that is north of our stadium and our board office that goes all the way to Middletown Road. It would provide egress out from the stadium. It would give us the opportunity to possibly allow the Little League softball and baseball to maybe bring their fields over to us. It is a farmed agriculture area, so maybe even down the road, maybe the science labs would like to build something over there to extend academics and do some farming and some different ag things. So it's just a great opportunity that we were able to work with the Sour Wines.
Okay, and that concludes the agenda items. At this time, I'd open up the floor to the public for any public participation on agenda items.
I'd like to talk about the property a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to be voting against purchasing the property. A few reasons why. I don't necessarily believe that we need it. Our native enrollment student population is shrinking. I think that we have enough land on the current campus we have to take care of any influx of students that may come in, because our open enrollment kids are, they're a significant percentage, and as new native enrollment kids would come in, we would just drop down the number of open enrollment students we accept. I know, the argument can be made that this could be a good investment. After kind of seeing how hard it was to get serious offers on Memorial Field, I believe we ultimately had one serious offer anywhere close, even at half of our asking price. So I don't, I know the argument can be made that this will be a good investment. The price of it will go up and we'll be able to sell it. I'm not necessarily subscribing to that mindset. I don't want to necessarily hamstring any future boards based on, being stuck with trying to sell property that they just can't get rid of, and then, taking less than they wanted to for it. I really don't think that we need any of the improvements that have been suggested for it. I'm not sure exactly what improvements I'd be allowed to talk about just based on executive session rules, but I just don't see them as necessary, is all I'll say about that, just to kind of stay out of ethics trouble. And that's why I'll be voting no on purchasing that property.
Okay, anybody from the public that would like to ask anything on agenda items, state your name, and I would tell you you have 2 minutes.
Rich Frenchek, the one thing that I would like to bring up is, I know you're doing the 21-22 calendar. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, I had asked the board at the time, because of, and I don't have a kid in the district anymore, so it doesn't affect me. But rather than just doing a 1-year calendar, if you could do a 2-year calendar, simply because it's so hard. Like I'm taking vacation right now. We're booking our vacation right now. We're booking all the way through June of 2022 right now. So if you want to do anything for people that like to travel, or people that are just looking out, hey, when are we going to have Easter break? Is it going to follow Easter this year? Are we not going to follow Easter? I just think it would be a nice thing for parents and even employees of the district if you could plan out more than just 1 year in advance. I know they did it, and then I think last year with Beth coming on, Dennis leaving, it was just something that sort of went by the wayside. But if you go out 2 years and then every year you just go, follow the year after that, I just think it makes planning a lot easier. Just a suggestion on that. With the property purchase, I mean, I initially came in and was against it till I was talking to Mr. Phillips and Beth before the meeting. The only thing that I would say is, financially, it's going to be challenging for the district in a couple of years, and it's probably not a good optic that it looks like you got enough money to buy property. And I know, Jimmy, that's coming from a separate fund, so it's not coming out of general fund money. I understand that, but I just don't know if the optics are that good for something that we really don't need. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else at this time? If not, then we will go back through the agenda items. First up was the adoption of the 21-22 academic calendar. Can I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Amy moves. Can I have a second?
I second.
Terry seconds. Mr. Phillips, roll call vote, please.
Taylor Christian? Yes. Terry Lally?
Yes.
Ralph Wentz?
Yes.
Amy White?
Yes.
Brian Bagwell?
Next up would be the approval of the 21-22 South Range High School Curriculum Guide. May I have a motion to accept that?
A motion.
Terry makes a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Taylor seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up would be the number of board policy considerations for the next month's March 21 adoption. Can I have a motion to accept those policy considerations? Brian makes the motion. Can I have a second?
I second.
Amy seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up would be the approval of the agreement with the South Range Classified Employees Association and the South Range Local Board of Education from July of 2021 through June of 2022. May I have a motion for that?
A motion.
Terry makes the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Taylor seconds. Mr. Phillips, roll call, please.
Taylor Christian,
Yes.
Terry Lally,
Yes.
Amy White,
Yes.
Ralph Wentz,
Yes.
Brian Bagwell.
Motion carries. Next up would be the approval of the purchase of the sour wine property. May I have a motion for that? Brian moves. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Terry seconds. Mr. Phillips, roll call, please.
Ralph Wentz,
Yes.
Brian Bagwell, Taylor Christian,
No.
Terry Lally,
Yes.
Amy White.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up would be non-agenda items for public participation. Same rules apply. State your name and you have 2 minutes, please.
When I was looking at the agenda tonight, I went to the South Range website, and the first thing that pops up on this on the page is the kids that are signing because they're going to go to college and they're going to do athletics, and that's great. I have nothing against it. My kids did athletics. You know, I think athletics are a good part of school, but I think we're overemphasizing, and not. I don't mean to take this school or board to, you know, it's society in general. I wish we would start to emphasize academics and how important academics are. Because increasingly, when I'm working with younger kids, and I kid you not, I challenge all of you, go find anybody under 30 and start asking them their 7, 8, or 9 times tables. They can't do it. You ask a kid that's 25 years old what 9 times 7 is, he doesn't know it's 63. They pull out their fingers, they pull out a calculator, they just don't know how to do it. We need to start emphasizing academics. I shouldn't, you know, when I have kids that come in as young technicians, and most of them are in college, a lot of them are in pre-pharmacy, pre-nursing, stuff like that, they have to pick up a calculator to do simple arithmetic. You know, but what we're worried about, we have so many parents in this country that are worried about whether their kid can throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball and stuff. I wish we would start elevating academics. I mean, when I came down the hallway, we have an athletic hall of fame. We have a whole part of it that just shows kids that are playing in college sports. You know, they're not at Ohio State, they're not at Michigan or anything like that. They're at these little Division III colleges, and that's fine. I'm not demeaning that. But why don't we have something that shows the kids that, you know, graduated and got nice scholarships, or the kids that are 4.0, the kids that are valedictorians? I wish we would just do something to start emphasizing academics, because it's killing our society. And I don't know what we can do to do that, but I just wish we would collectively agree that academics for society is way more important than sports. Because for every one Tom Brady, we need 1,000, you know, we need thousands of Beths, we need thousands of Brian and Amy's teachers, we need millions of teachers. These are the things that our society needs. We don't need that many pitchers, quarterbacks, blockers. We need people that academically are going to be the future of this country, and we're failing the future of our country. And I'm not putting the blame on anybody. I just think we need to somehow collectively figure out how we can stimulate and get our kids more interested in academics. Not to diminish athletics, but when you graduate, you know, the future is very, very bright if you go and educate yourself, whether it's a vocational education or an academic education. Either way, we don't have enough carpenters right now. You try and find a plumber. So, you know, I paid $400 to have somebody snake my drain the other day. I'm thinking I went in the wrong profession. I should have been a plumber. You know, you can make, these are the things I think we have to emphasize, and quit putting the emphasis and the glory on all this athletic achievement. I mean, I'm not trying to demean it, but this is a school. Academics should come first, and athletics should be a distant second to that. And that's all I wanted to say on my soapbox tonight.
So can I speak to that? Because I am a teacher, and it is also a frustration of mine that society doesn't see school as important, going to school. We have kids, oh, you were up too late, don't want to go to school, fine, stay home. That is daily at every school across the country. Parents do not perceive, like you do, Rich, as schools as being important. the perception is, let's get you to play softball year round, get that arm strong, so maybe you can get a scholarship. The push is more on the let's play year-round sports and be really good, and getting to college is the backup.
I mean, you had good kids. Your kids were all good athletes. But I guarantee you what was more important to you and Rob was academics. Because, I mean, let's say you can throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball when you graduate high school. The chances that you're going to make it in the professional baseball are slim to none. So that skill is going to expire when you're about 22 or 23 years old. You've gone as far as you're going to go with that skill. What you put between these ears will go with you for the rest of your life and is going to make you a successful person.
So I would love for you to go talk to someone at the state level, because here's where I started to see from my own perception when things started to change. And you said they don't know their times tables, because we now are forced to teach kids certain standards at every grade level.
Oh, the testing's...
and if they don't do it, guess who it reflects back upon?
Rich,
You've sat here and complained about it as well. Our scores on our report card, because that's what's important to teachers, is they get that score on that report card based on this standard, and guess what? Times tables aren't in there.
Yeah, no, most, I don't complain, because most of the time I think we do very well on our scores. I mean, the one thing that and if you look at the last couple of years, our scores have gone up. I think we're doing fairly well. But just as a society, I am against the standardized testing. The standardized testing has been a disaster. No child left behind has resulted in nothing more than no child pushed ahead. We used to push children ahead. Now we want everybody right here. We don't want anybody down here. We don't want anybody up here. We want everybody in the middle. And we need to have people that are ahead, and the kids that are behind, we need to obviously help them and get them so that they can be a productive citizen. Our job as parents, and I think what's getting lost in our society, our job as parents, at least I look at it as my job, is to create a successful, productive citizen. And I think if you look at what's going on in this country politically, we're failing our children, we're failing our country, because we no longer can even get together and agree on how we're supposed to run our country. You've got the Democrats, the Republicans, just at loggerheads with each other. Nobody's getting our business done. We're a laughingstock to the rest of the world. And this past century was America's century. This coming century, we are going to lose probably to the Chinese if we don't get our heads out of our collective rear ends and start valuing what's important. And the most important thing, all of us are here. All of our immigrants, all of our parents, grandparents came from somewhere else. The way they knew to get ahead in this country was to get an education.
Spread them out. My goal would be to truly spread them out so they can maybe even take a mask break while they're testing and just be comfortable and put their best foot forward, not be stressed, not be huddled into a corner. But we are using every area for lunch right now, so we really struggle to find a closed, safe area. So he'll be working with the high school, but only for high school, since they can drive and they can be responsible at home. Are we doing that? And the fact that kudos to our parents and our kids and our staff for remote at the high school. There was a day that we only had 2 kids absent for like 3 days straight. They were all engaged. So we feel that would be more effective than coming in for just 20 minutes. They get their whole class period, and they get to be taught live. Some of the other things going on moving forward, as Mr. Rowan and Mr. Zola kind of said, we are doing really well right now. And we're hoping that continues. So we're starting to plan for the end of the year. The traditional things kids like to have, we're talking about, after testing, they're going to start having the Band Boosters Awards, Athletic Awards, the speech. They're going to actually do a performance here for only the speech parents so they can see their 18 kids do their thing because they've not seen them. We're looking at prom. We're looking at doing some of the culminating things we do at the end of the year for kids. So we're starting to move forward. We're getting all that planned. So we've spent a lot of time actually the last 2 weeks really talking about how can we just move forward and make this as normal as possible. But I really want to give a shout out to our staff, because I sit in a lot of meetings and I hear what other schools are doing, or should I say not doing, and the extra effort and protocols that, for instance, our phys ed department is doing. So our kids can still have the tools in their hands to learn to play. Then they spend time cleaning them after to make sure that everybody's safe. There's some schools that just aren't doing it. Like, they don't have anything in their hand. They can't go out to recess. So our staff is just doing a great job to make sure these kids are having the most normal year they can have, and they're doing a really great job. So I just think it's been a little bit of time, and I just really want to shout out to them on doing a great job. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Last, we have personnel. Mrs. Carlson, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay, the first two we have, Mr. Matos as our elementary principal and our grants coordinator. I'm asking that the board approve a 3-year contract for him. He's up for renewal. The same for Sherry Lewis, who is our director of instruction and student services. I'm asking that you grant her a 3-year administrative contract. As I've mentioned before, we are looking to try to figure out a way to service our students of high need and bring them back to our district. Sometimes we have some students that have other academic or behavioral needs, and unfortunately we didn't have a way to service them here, so they're being bused to other districts. So we're working to bring our students back to us, to get them back into our building, to get included with our students, to be able to participate in various activities that they want to here with their own peers and not have to be sent someplace else. So I'm asking that we hire Mr. Drunowski as a 1-year full-time limited teacher to come back and to, in fact, be the teacher for that unit. Our French students who are online, the online program for foreign language is a little flat because there's not a teacher talking back and forth with them. So speaking with Mr. Landry, we located a girl who can do some tutoring and have some conversation back and forth with the children who are online. We have a handful at the high school, and they've committed to pretty much stay on for the rest of the year. So she's gonna do some oral language communication and teaching with them, so when they come into French 2 next year with him, they don't have this giant gap. We have 2 resignations. One is actually a bus aide that I'm sorry I forgot to put on. I missed the letter when it came in the office. That was back in September. Susan Baker, who was a longtime bus aide, chose to stay home and with her children. Also, Jessica Krause, who was one of our instructional aides we hired this year, was able to secure another job, so she was transitioning on. Because of that, we had a bus aide opening as well as an instructional aide. We were very fortunate. Kent State Salem and Eastern Gateway with remote learning, we found 2 of our recent graduates that are willing to come back and help in a day here or a day there. So we're actually piecing 2 of them together to replace Jessica, and then Chloe Freedy for a bus aide, and then Victoria Wellington and Zach McKenzie to be the instructional aide. The middle school, just as a reminder, our bus drivers were coming over and doing their extra hours that they weren't getting for bus trips since we didn't have as many trips for athletics. They came over and they were covering lunches. Well, they've worked all their hours, so we're now at the point where I did need to hire somebody for the middle school to help too. So that's where those instructional aides were needed. Athletically, we have our spring sports, Bill Beaver, high school girls track, Mark Bush, high school boys varsity track, David Rock, Daniel Bazzacco, and Joe Brooks as the assistants for track for girls and boys, Gianna Marinucci-Rowan for assistant softball coach, Ryan Miller, baseball assistant coach, and then we have 3 volunteers pending that they all receive their PAP license, Dawn Farron softball, Don DeCellis baseball, and Dion Miller baseball volunteer. And that would be it.
Also, approval of Ed Schaefer Jr.
Oh, yes, thank you.
For the snow plowing as a needed
yes.
basis too.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions on personnel? If not, may I have a motion to accept the personnel for this month?
I motion.
Terry makes the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Amy seconds. Mr. Phillips, roll call.
Taylor Christian?
Yes.
Terry Lally?
Yes.
Ralph Wentz?
Yes.
Amy White?
Yes.
Brian Bagwell?
And that motion passes on personnel. And next up would be motion for adjournment. May I have a motion? Brian moves.
Second.
Taylor seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you much.